back to the show. And again, my name is Chavon Clark, and I'm your host. We film on the couch at the beautiful Deep nightclub located at the Lido Complex at Elbow Beach Hotel. Today we have with us Miss Deborah Bradford. How are you, Miss Bradford?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm
good to be here.
I'm good, and I'm really, really thrilled to have you with me on the couch. Of course, I see your beautiful face every other week anyways, for the Leadership Academy. So why don't you share with the audience and our viewers what the Leadership Academy is?
Well, first of all, I'd like to start out by saying that the catalyst for the Leadership Academy was the result of the 1997 report on the status of women. Okay. And having reviewed the report, I realized that there was a deficit in leadership in Bermuda in terms of females, and there was no such thing as a Leadership Academy for women. There are other organizations on the island, but there was nothing really at the grassroots level. So that was really the catalyst for the Leadership Academy. And also, being a graduate of the Leadership Academy myself at Georgia State, I just saw this as a really good fit for Bermuda.
Mm-hmm. And now, of course, we have a female in the ultimate role of leadership.
That's right.
What do you think of course, Paula Cox, who is the premier here in Bermuda?
I think it's wonderful. I think it's timely and long overdue. Mm-hmm. Long overdue. She's not the first premier that we had, but she's there as the premier, and there'll be many more women in leadership roles. That's the goal, to increase the visibility of women in leadership roles in Bermuda. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so share with us what the Academy, what do we cover with the Academy?
Well, basically, right now, the Leadership Academy is a pilot program. And the pilot
and we hate when you say that.
I know.
We're not pilots.
I know. Well, we had to test the program, yes. Just test the waters, basically to see what kind of response we would get. The program actually runs for 13 weeks. And it runs the gamut from learning your leadership styles to conflict resolution, mm-hmm. to organizational behavior, to networking and personal branding. It just runs the gamut. And we used a tool, which is a psychological tool that's used, called the DISC analysis. Mm-hmm. And basically that's like the root of the Leadership Academy, because with that tool, individuals are able to determine their style of leadership, which could be dominant, influential, steadiness, or consciousness. And as we know, leadership it fluctuates. So it just depends on the circumstances and the time. So we use that tool, and then we have a gamut of courses. Another component, which is really, really exciting for the women of the Academy, as you know, mm-hmm. is a community action project. Yes. And each group has to come up with a community action project that will be sustainable for Bermuda. And on May 5th, when we have the graduation, the public will get a chance to see what these 3 community action projects are all about. So it's really to test the waters in terms of your leadership skills.
Now, you never told us that the public will be invited.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, the goal is to invite the stakeholders, mm-hmm. with the possibility of someone possibly taking on that community action project. That's why it had to be something that was sustainable and long-term, that would benefit the community or the organization that the individual represents.
Okay. And what do you say to individuals who may feel that a Leadership Academy just geared towards women is an act of feminism?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that, simply because if you look at the statistics, traditionally men have been in leadership roles since the beginning of time. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really nice to be able to create a space where women can go and connect with other women to really talk about leadership roles. Mm-hmm. And if you want to make changes in this world, you have to have women in leadership roles to be able to affect policy. So I think it's much needed for women. It's not to say that we won't invite the guys later on, but I think for now we need to get the women moving, and then later on maybe we can consider the guys.
Mm-hmm. So of course you mentioned that this is the pilot,
Yes.
And we cringe when we hear pilot because we're enjoying it so much. And it just seems as if this academy has existed forever. It's so organized. It's such a learning experience for all of the women. And what are your plans from here? What happens with the academy from this day forward?
Well, initially when the academy was started, the goal was to do networking and also to do some coalition building. Okay. As you know, in Bermuda, we tend to operate in silos, and it's not to say that we don't have other organizations, but everybody operates in a silo. So the goal is really to incubate this project in an existing nonprofit organization. So now I'm in the process of talking to other nonprofit organizations with the goal of them adopting the program.
Okay, and does that mean that you won't be involved at all, Ms. Bradford?
No, not quite. Actually, the proposal that I have is to be able to do the program and then to train someone else to also do the program as well. Okay. And then it'll just take on its own sort of feeling and nature, if you would, because it's never going to be like Leadership Academy 1. But the goal of promoting leadership and education for growth and social change, one woman at a time, will always be there, because that is the goal and the mission.
Now, of course, I know that the importance of subjects such as math and English, science, and all of the rest in schools. But what do you think about having a leadership class in school, along with, how to write a check and all the rest, the life skills? How important do you think implementing a course on leadership in elementary, maybe even elementary, middle, and high school?
I think it's very, very important, and I also think that it's timely, given the fact that leaders are cultivated. They used to say before, years ago, that you were born a leadership, but I don't believe that. I think that if you have the desire and the ability, it can be cultivated and you can become a leader. So why not have it in the elementary schools and middle schools and high schools? Because you start when you're younger, and the more education you have, the more empowerment that you have, the more skills that you have, then when you get to the point where you're ready to take on leadership roles that affect change in policy, you've already been groomed. So a part of the Leadership Academy also includes mentorship. And so that's something that will be implemented in the next program, the mentorship piece. So I absolutely see it fitting in primary school, middle school, or even high school.
And of course, when you shared that ideology that leaders are trained, they're not necessarily born, I raised my hand and I had some questions about that. And I'm still not 100% in agreement with that. I think some people naturally are leaders. They have certain characteristics that make them more prone to lead, if you wish. But through the program, understanding the whole DISC analysis and understanding that there are different types of leaders. So you can lead in silence, you can lead behind the scenes. Absolutely. And so that's what I've really learned. I've learned many things, of course, but that's one of the things that I've really learned. You don't have to be in the forefront to be a leader.
Exactly. And the other thing is that sometimes people are shut down. You could have been shut down early on, say in primary school or high school, by something an individual has said and just killed your spirit. And so those are the leaders, like I said, that it's not necessarily innate, but they have that ability, but because someone has shut them down, then they believe that they can't be a leader. So that's why I say that it's not necessarily innate, it can be cultivated. Okay,
that makes sense. So tell us more about you. Who is Deborah Bradford? Because I noticed that in our binder for the Leadership Academy, you still haven't provided us with your bio.
That's true, that's true. I really don't like to talk about myself, but I will say that I am a mother, a grandmother, a sister, a daughter, and I am someone who believes in social justice and an advocate for change.
Okay. That was very well said.
I practice.
I'm serious. You must have stood in the mirror and said, Chavon is going to ask me about myself.
Yes.
So your day job is with the human rights?
Human affairs.
Human affairs.
Yes.
What types of situations do you see, especially affecting women on a regular basis?
Well, currently the Department of Human Affairs has the mandate for gender.
Okay.
And basically the Department of Human Affairs really looks at policy analysis. Currently, I am the project assistant in the department, and I've had an opportunity to be involved in women's issues with regards to CEDAW, which is the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women.
Okay.
I had an opportunity to participate and review the 1997 report, hence the Leadership Academy. And I've also had a wonderful opportunity to go to Barbados for a month to do a course on gender and policy.
Okay.
And I've actually did research on gender policies in Bermuda, because currently we don't have a gender policy per se. So I did some research looking at other Caribbean regions to see whether or not it would be feasible for Bermuda to have a gender policy.
Because when I look at the Department of Statistics release of the stats, you know, on, do they do it every year? Or is it
10 years.
Oh, 10 years.
10 years.
Well, when I look at that report, it's quite disturbing to know that, of course, women can, there could be a woman and a man in the exact same role and still we don't get paid the same
Unequal
amount.
pay, yes. And that's something we've been working on for a very long time. We don't have an Equal Pay Act. So those are some of the things that we actually look at. And again, like I said, with CEDAW, we're not currently signed on to CEDAW, but we have had a review of the legislation to see whether or not we would be in compliance and where we would take reservations, et cetera. And hopefully that is something that will come down the pipeline maybe in the next 2 to 3 years.
Sure. Of course, our time has run out.
Yes, thank you.
But share with the audience and the viewers, of course, how can one become more involved with the Women's Leadership Academy?
Well, in September, there will be an application launched for enrollment for October. And I believe that we were going to have a big launch on sometime in July.
Okay.
So the next academy will start in October. We're not quite sure how long it will be, whether it'll be 8 weeks, whether it will be 16 weeks, but just watch the news. There'll be a story soon coming in the Royal Gazette about the community action projects.
Okay.
And then if you're interested in the graduation, you can email me at leadershipbermuda@gmail.com.
And it's Leadership BDA or Bermuda?
BDA, leadershipbda@gmail.com.
Okay, and hopefully we can perhaps bring you back on with the group, the current ladies of the Leadership Academy, and they can even share the community action projects on air.
Yes.
And you just never know who may receive it and the support that they'll get.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I definitely have to say on the air that I am thoroughly enjoying my experience with the Leadership Academy.
I'm happy and blessed to have you. Thank you
very much. In just a few minutes, we'll return with On the Couch with Mr. Monroe Darrell. He's a personal trainer, and I can't wait to hear the tips he has on weight loss. We'll be right back.
I mean, I understand that if you have a passion about something, you can also generate a business out of it.